I don't know how long the adverts take to finish playing, so I'm just going to wait a bit more so that everyone can check in. Hey Surface, hello Courtney, NY, and my chat's not updated. Oh dear. Alright, so I think everyone is here. It might be a slightly shorter stream today because I've got people visiting, so I'm going to try and keep it down to about an hour, which means I probably can't do everything I wanted to do, which means there is going to be a vote. I don't actually have a vote bot, so just say what you would prefer in the chat. So I'm going to start with the shellcode challenge from my reversing challenge. I can start with Shellcode1, and then the choices, we can either move on to Shellcode2, or we can look at the MEMZ malware that someone sent us last stream that they wanted us to reverse. So hands up for Shellcode2 and hands up for the MEMZ malware. Apparently we are already going the route of memes. We have one vote for Shell so far. I think it's going to be memes. So I did take a quick look at the size of the code earlier. It might be 2 streams. Like there's some fun part which I think would make a nice advanced stream, which I think I might do sometime during the week. The memes is actually from GitHub. The URL is here. I'll just paste that one in the chat. Do not run it on your home computer. It will trash it. Just a warning. It is very destructive. Well, I wouldn't say very. It's fairly destructive. So we'll do Shellcode1, then we'll get onto the MEMZ malware, which you can find at that link. It's the memsdestructive.exe is what you want. You want this one. So just kind of download that. It'll warn you that it's dangerous because it is in fact dangerous. So to start with Shellcode1, so this one's actually quite easy. It's supposed to, like, the challenge is not supposed to get harder as you go on. Like, the strings challenges start easy and then get hard. The shellcode challenges start easy and get hard. So each category kind of starts at an easier challenge and it will just scale up a bit more. So it's the same thing as before. We run it, it outputs an MD5 hash of the flag, and we need to get the original flag text. So again, like with strings, we can see our function which MD5 hashes the flag right here. And then the parameter is the first thing pushed to the stack, which is offset stir. So if we actually take a look at stir, we will see that it is gibberish. That's because it's encrypted. So we need to find out how to decrypt this. So if we look up a little bit more, we need to find where else stir is used. So we can actually see it's used here with strlen. So we're getting the length of this, and then where are we storing it? We're storing it into ECX plus 4. So what is ECX? Well, if we look at it's being loaded from EBP plus var4, which is set up here, which is the return address of heap alloc. So that is, yeah, I'm hoping I'm not going to get indicted again for telling people to download memes, but whatever. So we're allocating some memory here. Then we're putting it into here. So this we're just going to call heap space. Then we're loading the address of heap space into ECX, then setting heap space plus 4 to the length of our encrypted flag. So the first question would be, what is ECX plus 0? Well, can we find an ECX plus 0 is the question. So where else is this used? Where's the string? I've lost it again. So we are setting the EAX directly. So the it is the same buffer as the heap space. So it's EAX plus 0, or ECX plus 0, but because we're loading it directly from the return address, we won't actually see the plus. So we got our heap space. We're setting the first 4 bytes to the address of the string, and the second 4 bytes to its len. So what are we actually doing with the heap space is the next question. Well, right before the MD5, what do we call it? The digest, we are setting it into ECI, and then we're calling this offset. I'm not reversing memes right now. I'm doing Shellcode1. We'll do memes like right after this. So we're calling EBP plus dest. So that's going to be, we're going to name this unknown function. So what actually goes here? Well, if we look, it's set to the return address of virtual alloc. So if we do our MSDN, as I explained in the past videos, we can look up virtual alloc. And we will see that it reserves, commits, or changes the state of a region of pages. In Windows gibberish, that's basically it allocates memory. It is the Windows version of mmap. So our parameters, the address we want to allocate memory at, the size of the memory we want to allocate, the type of the allocation, and then the page protection. This one is specifically important. So we're going to actually take a look at this. So the page protection is this last parameter here, the 40 hex. So we want to know what 40 hex is. We could look it up on MSDN, or IDA has a nice feature called the use standard symbolic constants. So if we look back to MSDN, we see the protections start with page underscore. So if we actually search page underscore in this, it will tell us what 40 corresponds to, which is page execute read write. So we are allocating some memory that is executable, readable, and writable of allocation type 1000 hex, which we can do the same, use standard symbolic constant. I believe it starts with MEM, and it says MEM Commit is of type 1000. So MEM Commit just says allocate our memory. So we're allocating some memory. It's executable, readable, and writable. The size is D in hex, or 13. And we're setting the address to 0. So that doesn't actually mean we're going to allocate at address 0. If we look back here, we'll see if this parameter is null, the system determines where to allocate the region. So we're going to allocate some memory absolutely anywhere, and then we're going to put the address of the memory into here. So what's actually at that memory? Well, if we look here, we've got an MEM Copy function. When you download the Windows ISO file, I actually think this one's from a legit CD. I think I actually bought a CD for this VM. But you can get them on Microsoft, and there's a couple of torrents. So our MEM Copy, when you do an MEM Copy, the destination is the first parameter, the source is the second, and the size is the third. So we're copying to our allocated memory. We're copying from here, and we're copying D bytes, which is how much we allocated here, so 13 bytes. So what are we actually copying? What is at unknown 40468? Well, it's some gibberish, but we know that it's immediately calling this memory after the copy, so we know that this data must be code, which means with IDA, if you hit the C button, the C key, it will convert the data to code. So what does our code do? We move a value from ESI into EDI. We move a value from ESI plus 4 into ECX. And then we loop for ECX bytes running the ROL instruction, which rotates left. So we're going to rotate left the value in ESI, each byte of the value in ESI, for length ESI plus 4. Now, if you remember earlier, we put something into ECX plus 4 and something into the ECX plus 0 or EAX. So it's heap space that's being passed. ESI is heap space. So we know that the value being rolled is our str, which is this. So we're going to need this, which means we should copy it out In IDA, this doesn't really work in the hex view. So what you have to do is you have to select all of your bytes, then go to Edit, Export Data, and we're going to put it in a nice format for Python, which is the C string. So you don't want the actual C string, the definition. You just want the hex bytes, and then we're going to convert it to Python code. So I can't change the extension because I haven't set the what's it called, the folder options to allow me to change the extension. Oh, not that one. Hide extensions for known file types. There we go. So we're gonna make a Python file. We're gonna create a byte array called flag. My typing is terrible today. I'm so tired. And then to define a byte array, we just put our bytes in here. And now we need to do our roll. So if you remember the code, we go back to our code that's being copied. It's doing a roll of each byte. So Python doesn't actually have a roll function or a rotate left, so we're just going to Google how to do it. Is this good? No, it's an entire library just to do roll. That's amazing. This one will do. So we're going to go back to our Python. We're going to define our roll function. Because it's doing it byte-wise, it's 8 bits per byte, so we're going to set the bits to 8. And then we're going to try and see if this works. So for I in range length of flag. Oh wait, it's not length in Python, it's len. I mean coding too much JavaScript. Flag I equals flag I roll. The first is the bit, so we're doing a roll 5. Let's see if this actually works. Google Stack Overflow copy and paste, that's how I code too. Yeah, I'm bad with bit math, so whenever it comes to anything bit mathy, I'm going straight to Stack Overflow. I don't know if this is even going to compile. I don't even remember where I put the damn code. Come on. Can I not open a command window here? Oh, it won't let me open one there. Raw is not, oh, roll, sorry. Oh, it's using both roll and raw. Screw it, I'm just going to use my easier one I made earlier, which is this. So it's the same thing. It's not capital. And then it has decrypted our flag, which is this. Flag shellcode isn't just for exploits, which is true. Shellcode is very popular in malware for unpacking, hooking, all that kind of. So beginner reversing challenges, we would check our flag. And yay, it's correct. So any questions about this before I move on to the meming? You have a question about the setup for my VMs. Go for it. Have I ever used Radare? No, I don't really like it. I mean, I've tried it, but I'm not a fan. I'm definitely an IDA person. You can do these challenges in Radare. It's just a bit, I don't know. How is my network set up with my environment? Um, I think this one goes through a separate router, so if there was malware to kind of scan the network, it would not actually reach my real network. Okay, so the MEMZ malware. Alright. So I guess we'll start at the top. The get system metrics. We can MSDN that one. Do you segment with VLANs? No, I actually use an entirely separate router. The problem with VLANs is sometimes you can break out of them depending on what kind of router you're using or switch. Okay, I need to find what value this is. Maybe SI, cool, push EVX, which is 0, and then a second call with 1, so 0 and 1. Oh, there it is. Okay, so that's going to get the CX screen, which is the width of the display. And I'm guessing the other one is the one that's 1, because why would this be in like numerical order? Is system CY screen size. So what we're doing here is we are getting the the size of the screen in pixels. So that's the X or across, and then the vertical value here. So that's probably going to use some kind of window location. Get command line W, that just gets the command line. Then it's gonna check the command line parameter to see if we've passed a /watchdog, which I'm sure we'll learn what that is later. So it goes down here. Oh wait, no, it goes here. So we'll start here. We have a create thread. So let's take a look at what this thread does. The when you call create thread, the function that is being created in a thread is the third parameter. So this is our function that's being created. So what's this function doing? Local alloc just allocates memory, so we're allocating 200 or 200 hex bytes of memory, and then where are we putting the memory? EAX. So we call that heat space 1, and then we are, what is this? Get process image file name, handle followed by a buffer followed by the size. So we've got our handle here, which is get current process. So we're going to get the file name of the current process, and I assume we're putting it into our heap space. Then process 32 first gets the first process in a process list, and I'm guessing there'll be a process 32 next somewhere here. So what this loop here will do between the process 32 first and the end of the process 32 next is it will iterate each process. You can actually look that up to confirm on MSDN. And sorry, there's no bot, so the exclamation mark uptime command won't work, unfortunately. So here, so retrieves information about the next process recorded in the system snapshot. So that's iterating the processes, and then for each process, it opens a handle to the process, creates another 200 byte buffer, and then calls get process image file name A again. So what this is going to do is get the file name of each process and then compare it with the file name of our process. And then if it's equal, which is this call here, it's going to increment ESI by 1. So what is ESI being used for? It's being compared with this buffer here, which is var_c. So let's see where var_c is set. It's set to EBX, which is XORed with itself, which means EBX is 0, so var_c is 0. We can call it something uncreative, the thing that's 0. So we compare it, we compare the number of processes that have the same name as us with 0, and then if it's greater than, we skip this call here, and then we set the thing that's 0 to the ESI. So what this is going to do overall is it's going to get the number of processes with the same name as our process, and it's going to store it here, and then it's going to keep looping. And if the number of processes with our name drops, it's going to call this function. So if it basically is going to check if any processes with this name get terminated. If so, call this. So what does this do? Okay, I can already see what that's doing. So there's a thread here. Oh, that's not interesting. The main thing that stands out here is NTRaisedHardError, which, if you don't know what that does, that causes a blue screen of death. So basically, if we terminate one of its processes, it will cause a blue screen of death. And it will also, by the looks of things, spam a bunch of message boxes right before it kills the system. So what is it doing before that? We go back to the main function here. It's creating a window class, which is actually not particularly interesting. Like, we don't need to know much about that. It's basically a message processor which will allow it to receive window messages. And this is where it receives messages. So what does getMessageW do? Let's look at the return value. If the function receives a message other than wmQuit, the return value is non-zero. So if it receives wmQuit, the return value is 0. wmQuit basically means the application has been terminated. So it's going to, if the application gets terminated, it's going to do this, take this path. Or, wait, sorry, is it greater than it? Return value is non-zero, okay. So it's either going to just keep going, translating and dispatching window messages, which doesn't really do anything, or it's going to take this path where it does this. So the first thing we see is the create file A and this string. So if you're not familiar with Windows kernel internals, the physical drive 0, like it's essentially it's a pseudo handle. It is basically a handle to your hard disk as if it were a file. So if you create file, which the access mode is opening the file. So if you open this file, you can read and write the hard disk as if it was all one big file, which means you're not accessing the file system, you're actually writing the raw sectors of the hard disk. If you see malware doing this, this is never anything good. It means it's going to mess with the master file table or the master boot record, or something you just really don't want it to touch. So what is it messing with? Let's look for a write file call. Here we go, write file. So it's not setting the file pointer, which means it's writing to the very first byte of the hard drive, which is the master boot record. So it's going to overwrite the master boot record with this. It's doing a copy here and a copy here. So it's going to basically write all of this to the master boot record. Let's find if I can see it at the start. There we go. So if we run it, it is going to overwrite the master boot record, and it's also going to write a file called notes.txt that says, your computer has been fucked by the MEMZ Trojan. Your computer won't boot up again. Trying to kill the memes will cause your system to be destroyed instantly, so don't try it. Happy face. So when it says trying to kill the memes will cause your system to be destroyed instantly, that's the routine we looked at earlier where it's checking if any of the memes processes get killed. So I'm going to create a VM snapshot quickly so we can actually run it, which is probably going to be stupid. Alright, let's wait for this snapshot to start. Saving state, 36%, 40%. This is on an SSD. It should be a lot faster than this. Or maybe it's not. I don't actually know. Oh no, the machine is going to die 100%. Like, this is going to kill it. It's just taking really long to save. That is a very, very slow saving state. I'm wondering where I saved this machine. Why won't you tell me? Huh, this is stored on an SSD. How accurate would you say this is to real malware? As far as overwriting the master boot record in a destructive manner, I believe the Olympic destroyer did that, and there was some South Korean wiper that also did that. The APT that infected Sony after they released the shit. What was that film called where they made fun of Kim Jong Un? They released that movie, and then someone hacked their network and basically erased all their computers, including, I believe, overwriting the master boot record. So while this one is a bit silly and it's a bit memey, it is something that real malware does. Team America, no, it's something newer. I don't remember the name, but it'll come to me in like a minute. So but the spamming message boxes part just seems a bit silly. The overwriting the MBR part, yeah, that's kind of new. The interview, that's it. That's the one. It is the interview. They erased like Sony's, I think, like a bunch of their networks because of that movie. This saving state is taking so long. Like, how many files did I have in here? While I wait, I'll see if I can bring up the see if I find the wiper malwares. They hate us because they ain't us. So yeah, Lazarus Group had one. That's the North Korean APT. That's the one that was used in the South Korean cyber attack and Sony Pictures. The Sony hack utilized raw disk. The other one, Petya and not Petya. So the ransomware that hit Ukraine last year and overwrote like a bunch of their computers in like the financial sector, that used an MBR destroyer. But except the difference with this is it actually used the MBR to encrypt data on the hard disk rather than just destroy it. But yeah, like MBR messing with malware it's not as common as it used to be, but it is a thing that happens. Back in the kind of older days before Secure Boot, you could actually write rootkits to the MBR, and you could load malware before the OS loads, which was kind of cool. Okay, so we're finished saving the VM. Let's run the malware. Run it as administrator, which is the safest thing to do with any form of malware. Blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. Run. Say my computer has been fucked by the MEMZ Trojan. Your computer won't boot up again, so use it as long as you can. Happy face. Trying to kill the memes will cause your system to be destroyed instantly. Well, based on what I saw with that routine, I'm going to go and find Process Hacker. I bet I can kill it without it crashing the system. Because looking at the way the routine works, it has no thread checking. So I'm just going to go and grab a Process Hacker binary quickly. Is the way it's written similar to how you might see it live? In terms of function calls, yeah, you would open physical drive 0 with a call to create file and then write it with write file. Like that's the standard way to overwrite the MBR. So code-wise, yeah. Someone asked if I'm currently back home in the UK. No, I'm not. I'm in LA right now. Hence the fact it is still light outside. In the UK, I believe it'd be 6 p.m., so it'd probably be dark by now. Oh, wow. So it also searches things on Google at some kind of period of time. So it searched virus.exe, Half-Life 3 release date. Oh god. Facebook hacking tool, free download, no virus, working 2016. How to download memes. Stanky danky maymays. Okay, that's quite funny. I kind of need it to stop opening shit. Oh god, it's still going. So I'm gonna pause it with process hacker. Come on. Oh god damn it! It's moving the mouse as well, and it's making a lot of sound. Okay, so I've suspended all the memes processes, which means it is now no longer able to detect if I kill a process. So I can actually go ahead and kill the processes, and it won't destroy my system. It is kind of an annoying virus. It's not an effective virus if you know what you're doing. But it's funny. The only thing is, it's probably already overwritten the master boot record. So even if I were to normally reboot my PC, actually I need to run this as admin. If I were to reboot my PC, it would be screwed. So with HXD, you can actually open the raw disk. So if you go to open disk and open hard disk 1, it's the same as opening physical drive 0. So here we can actually read the hard disk as if it were a file. So these are all the raw sectors of my hard disk. And the first one is the master boot record. And as we can see, it's been overwritten. This is not the standard Windows master boot record. There's more data here than should be. The Windows one would be blank after the first sector, whereas on sector 1, we've got a bunch of crap. So if I were to reboot now, my PC would not boot again. I could use fixMBR to overwrite the master boot record with the original Windows one and fix my computer. But for shits and giggles, I'm going to reboot. I kind of just want to see what the master boot record it has written done. Yeah, we can repair it. We can just use fixMBR. So we're going to restart. Come on. I think in a more advanced stream, maybe later in the week. Oh wow, this is great. The music is, I don't know, can you hear the music? Let's go back. We fucked up. So it's playing Nyan Cat in 8-bit music using the master boot record, which is it's absolutely great. Okay, so we're back. So wow, so here's the link of the things it Googles. Best way to kill yourself. How to remove a virus. McAfee versus Norton. How to send a virus to my friends. I'm very glad I didn't Google these first three because the FBI would not be happy with me right now. How to buy weed. I guess that's okay because I live in LA now. Yeah, so it just Googles stupid shit. I'm guessing this is a list of files it doesn't allow you to run. Or is it just, no, it just pops them up. So it just pops up random crap. It also goes to all of these URLs. You can play video from the MBR. So I'll go into this in depth in a more advanced stream because this is really not beginner stuff. But I'll show you a bit of the MBR. If we go to the code it writes, which is one of these. I don't think it's this part. I think this is the second part of the MBR. I think the first is up here somewhere. It looks like this is it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just copy a bunch of this. Oh, that's way too much stuff. Export data, hex string spaced, hxd it. The unknown is the data it's writing to the MBR, which I'm going to try and put in a hxd file. Don't know if this is going to work. It might not. And then we're just going to save it as mbr.bin. I cannot save here. How dare you? I am an admin. Okay, so I'm going to open another idle window. And let's see if we can actually read in our master boot record. So the MBR actually loads at segment OX. Actually, I think it's address, not segment based. So it loads at OX 7C00. So we need to load at that offset, and we're going to set segment 0. And the MBR is 16-bit code, so we have to let IDA read it in 16-bit mode. This is still the free version of IDA. Okay, so I'm going to just make the entire master boot record into a function so that I can use graph mode, and then here we have it. So int13 is a BIOS interrupt. It tells the BIOS to read the disk, and then the parameters are in BX, DH, CX, and AX. That's basically going to say, actually we can bring it up here quickly. See if I can find a good documentation. Here we go. Ah, stay. What is my favorite syscall and why is it kill? It is kill because it's an amazing thing. Okay, so the AL is the number of sectors to read. We're setting AX, so I believe that AL would be the lower, is it 2 bytes? No, 1 byte. So that's going to read 4 sectors. I think I copied this all as in one block, so we'll ignore that. So it's going to read 4 sectors, AH function request number 2, which I believe is read. Where's it going to read them to? ESBX, so we set ES. So BX is 0 and ES is 7E0. So that's going to read to address 7E00 because that's a segment, which means we shift it left 4 bytes, 4 bits, sorry. So it's going to read when an MBR is read by the OS. Yeah, unknown address means unknown data. It means IDA doesn't know what's there. So when Windows loads the MBR, it loads the first sector of the disk. So if we open HXD in admin mode, I think it was already in admin mode. Oh, wrong one. Apparently not. Let's try again. Okay, so when the BIOS starts, it loads the MBR from the first sector of disk, which is this code here. Now it only loads one sector, which is this, 512 bytes. And then here with the dank MEMZ MBR, we have more code written after the first sector. So what this code here is going to do is it's going to, the first 512 bytes will be loaded automatically. Then it's going to read in the other 4 sectors, and it's going to read them to address 7EO, which is right after our MBR is loaded. So we're reading the rest of the memory in. int 10, I believe, outputs characters. So that's going to be the code that outputs the message saying our computer has been messed up. Disabling UAC is the first thing you do when installing 7. Yes, that is the safest thing to do, is to disable all security features. At least only in a malware analyst box. Don't do it on your raw system. See if I can find a video code. So the output commands does IO out, and then the hex number is the is where exactly we're IOing to. So if we out instruction number OX42. See if I can actually find it. It worked when I did it earlier. But the out instruction outputs, and then you takes a value, and then you also have in instructions. I don't know if we're using any here. I don't particularly see any. So int 13, we read from the disk. Int 10 is write to the video adapter, so that's usually used for outputting text. You got int 15, which is the memory manager, which is useful for allocating memory, reading, and writing. And then our out is, again, it's like an interrupt, but I don't really know how to explain the difference. So we can read text, we can read and write text, we can write the video buffer. So what it's doing here is basically it is capable of writing the whole Nyan Cat animation and playing sound from the master boot record. I assume one of these out 61, I think, might be the sound. That's totally not helpful at all. I did have a list of them somewhere, but I can't seem to find it again. But yeah, so basically this is the master boot record. I think in another video what I'll do is I'll go in how to set up like an MBR emulator and actually run this code in a safe way that it's not going to destroy your system. Because obviously I'm actually going to properly run it now. Where did I download it? So I'm actually going to kill the process, not in my clever way, but in a normal way, and see if it actually does destroy my system immediately. Oh, wow. That's incredible. So that's what happens if you don't kill it in a clever way. It just trashes your system immediately. Don't do a RAM dump. I don't want to do that. So that's definitely something fun to analyze. Just don't run it outside of a VM because it will mess up your system. Right, so any questions so far? I think the BIOS stuff is it's a bit advanced, I think, for the beginner stream. So I went through it in kind of a quick beginner way, but I think I will try and do an advanced stream maybe this week where I'll actually go into depth on how to write like master boot record code and work with the BIOS interface. No, don't say you ran it. I said specifically don't run it, so don't pretend I made you run it. So we've got about 10 minutes left, so I guess I'll do questions for now. That looks like the link I was looking for. Let's see if it is. I think this is it. So this is the interrupt vector table. Let's see if we find 20. Was it 46? I think it was. No. There was something 60, 62 maybe. Okay, so yeah, so that's the video driver. The out 62 is it's interfacing the video driver. 61. You have a 61 as well? No, I doubt it. This looks like. Oh no, that's VGA as well. Yeah, I'm probably gonna have to censor any of the adverts when I upload a video to YouTube. Do I have a write-up of the best practices for staying safe while reversing? I haven't done an in-depth write-up on that, but I have done a bit of I should probably close this before I get Twitch banned. I have done a write-up on how to do like how to do safer networking, which I believe is where's the search function? I actually think I accidentally took the search function off of my blog. So this is the link of how to set up the safe networking feature. It basically allows you to route all your traffic through Tor and isolate your VMs from talking to each other. Yeah, I know the ads can get me banned. That's why I'm gonna have to re-edit the video to take them out. It's technically not porn, but I'm not gonna take the risk. Have I missed any questions? Can you show us hypervisor escalation? Do you mean like a hypervisor breakout? That requires exploits, and if I were to hypothetically have any hypervisor breakout exploits, I would not be throwing them around on the stream. But they are extremely rare. You don't come across them in malware basically ever. You can use VBox, you can use VMware. Both at this tutorial, you'll need to edit it a bit for VirtualBox, but the same kind of stuff applies. Yeah, VMbox or VBox, I think it's called, will work. The networking part is slightly different, so this kind of part, but you'll probably understand how to translate it. Have I missed any questions? Is Xen good for this stuff? Yes, I actually quite like to use I call them hipster VM software that's not not commonly used for malware analysis. So Zen, KVM, those kind of things. Most malware actually can't detect those. Yeah, the master root record is 16-bit code. It runs in real mode, which is when the CPU is still in 16-bit assembly mode. So you need to know 16-bit assembly. Do you use cubes? I do not. I use pfSense. What jobs have I had in real life? Only one. I worked as a malware analyst for 2 years for Cryptos Logic. That was before I got stuck in the US. Yay, thanks for the 1 bit. I mean, technically stuck is correct, right? Are you planning on streaming games? No, I'm kind of busy today, so there will be no game streaming. Maybe next week. Tran's actually still on vacation. He's the one I usually stream with, but definitely no game streams today. Unless my plans go to shit, in which case I will stream. Um, Am I still in the US? Yes, I am. I'm in LA right now, as you can see by the one day this year that it is not sunny. Go buy Red Dead Redemption 2, I'm planning on. The data virus? What's that? Do you think it's worth doing formal education in this stuff, or do you have any recommendations where to learn the different disciplines online? So formal like malware analysis training is really hit and miss. SANS do some really good stuff, but it's like their classes are in the thousands of dollars per class. So it's definitely better to try and learn to teach yourself because either you're going to be going to some like really low quality classes or they're going to cost you thousands of dollars. So it's definitely better to just kind of search around on Google, see what you can find. I basically, whenever I need to learn something, I just Google until I find some kind of useful resource, even if it means trying to learn to read Chinese. And thank you, Hashimz. Not sure how to pronounce that, but thank you. So the memes malware, most of it seems a little bit complicated. So I'm definitely going to do the MBR part as an advanced stream. But if anyone has any suggestions of kind of super beginner malware we could work through on a stream for the beginner streams, that would be really helpful. So far, I'm working on TrickBot, I'm working on Emotear and Dridex. All three of those are not going to be good for the beginner streams because they got heavy anti-analysts and all that kind of stuff. Thanks for the bits donation, Mr. Your name is blue on a blue background, so I'm going to have to highlight it to see what it is. Mr. Jimmy Penguin. And thanks for the sub, Ingenious Phenuma and Jared Dunn. What would you consider advanced stuff? I mean, by advanced, I mean anything not beginner. I want to, for the beginner streams, I want to do something that's like really, really easy for you to follow along with. Because that meme stuff, it had a lot of different threads and it was doing a lot of different stuff at the same time, which I feel like that's probably not the best thing for beginners. Um, Yeah, stuff off of hack forums can actually be pretty advanced, but for the most part, it's trash. So that kind of stuff would be great. Thanks for the bits, Rucore. Um, no QTP in the monster. I'm not really worried about that because I don't post my analysis on anything that's going to get me killed essentially. So I'm not too worried about my name being out there, but we'll see what happens. To start reversing from scratch, I'd definitely go for starting with assembly. So learn x86 assembly language and then kind of go from there. Uh, this chat is hard to keep track of when it's on such a high-res screen. Letters are so tiny. Oh, you meant starting an analysis from scratch? So my standard procedure is the first thing I go for is strings. I'll uh, I'll just look at the strings, see if there's anything that immediately pops out. Then if there's no strings, I will look at the entry point, see kind of where that goes. I'll I don't know if it's in the free mode divider. We'll see. Where is it? Is it this one? Is it proximity browser? No. I don't think It might be in graphs, flowchart. There we go. So you can do a flowchart of like the entire application, each individual function, and you can kind of get an idea of where the major functions in the code are, and then you can use this to see where in this list I should jump to look at. So generally will look for the bigger functions, and I'll start there because that's usually where most of the work will happen. Um, So you can do like a whole application call graph here. So we can see some of the imports that are being called. Imports is always a good place to start. If you have no strings, the imports can tell you a lot, providing they're not fake. So I can see that this function is called from a lot of places. So I might start by figuring out what that does, and that will help me figure out what these are doing. So you can use the graphs. Then you've got your function graph, which for some reason is not actually showing here very well. I guess it's because there's not much. There we go. So you can kind of see an overview of each function. And that's kind of how I tend to get started. What's the first piece of malware I ever RE'd? I don't even remember the name. It was some crap hack forums bot. It was basically some kind of rootkit that was sold on hack forums. It was really bad. Like half the features it said it had didn't even work. Oh, and hey, Live Overflow, and thanks for the bits. Speak a bit more softly, and we get a nice ASMR reverse engineering stream. I don't think my mic does directional. I think it's a mono microphone. So no ASMR right now. What sort of projects do I recommend to learn if you already know 8-bit assembly? If you already know assembly, just make the jump to x86. It'll be really easy. Like once you know an assembly language, it's very easy to learn new ones. Where do I put the recorded versions? So it's archived automatically on Twitch, and I also upload to YouTube. What's the easiest way to analyze a multi-threaded program? You generally just have to analyze it in kind of a flat aspect and go into each individual thread and figure out what that does. Hack forums is still a thing. It is still a thing today. I think it's still online now, actually. Yeah, so hack forums is still a thing. It's where you can get a lot of crap malware to just practice analyzing. Some good learning resources for x86. I can't remember any of the book names, but you can search just for free ebooks and see how you like them. Have I missed anyone's question? I'm kind of reading the chat out of order here because it keeps scrolling up when I'm trying to read it. What have I found helpful rather than trying to just Google things? I found Twitter to actually be really, really helpful. You follow the right people on Twitter and you will learn a lot. So find some reverse engineers on Twitter, see who they retweet, follow them as well, and you'll get quite a good network for learning. Have I ever seen malware obfuscated? Not yet. I actually don't think it would be practical for real malware. I think it would be way too slow. Yeah, and most people came here from Twitter, so they know Twitter is a good learning resource. Have I thought about getting a kitty? No. No, I'm not getting a kitty. Thanks, CTB. What about Kevin Mipnick? What's the question there? I mean, I hear if you've got any projects you want to be taken to market, but you don't want to make money on them yourself, Kevin Mitnick is your guy. Thanks, Giftons. Over 100 viewers, but no transcoding option. By transcoding, do you mean like selecting the resolution? Because I believe that only comes for Twitch partners. Is it better to support me on here or Patreon? I don't think it makes a difference. I can, yeah, anywhere that's whatever's easier for you. Like I can make money on both Twitch and Patreon. Just I don't have donation options on Twitch. You have to either give bits or subscribe. No, I'm not actually at the requirements for partner yet. I didn't know if I could log into my Twitch account on. I wouldn't do it in the VM anywhere. But I believe I need an average of 75 viewers per all of my streams. And while these streams have loads of viewers, my gaming streams don't. So I'm actually still below the limit to get partner. And I believe you only get transcoded if there's enough free bandwidth. Like they prioritize the bandwidth to the partners, and then if there's still bandwidth left, then they will transcode the higher viewer streams. How often do I see PowerShell related stuff? Pure PowerShell, not really. Like maybe once or twice in my entire career. In terms of PowerShell being used in malware all the time, like most macro malware, like Office macros, will use PowerShell as a dropper. Like pretty much everything I've seen in the last few months has used PowerShell to drop their main payload from the macro. It kind of goes word macro, runs a PowerShell script, which drops an executable. That's kind of like the standard for anything that's spammed. Do I do surfing? Yes, I do. You can see my surfboards in the background. I surf both on the internet and in real life. I'm a double surfer. And just in case you didn't, I think it's malware tag. I forgot to put the URL. I can't even spell today. That's not. That's my Patreon here if you want to support me. Yeah, the reversing streams, the last two ones, have always hovered about 170 viewers, which is way, way more than my gaming streams, which is actually quite good. I've not seen any sharks. I did surf with dolphins 2 days ago, though. I was sat out in the sea, and an entire pod of about 6 dolphins just popped up and started swimming around me, which was kind of cool. If you want to cover my legal fees specifically, I believe that's on Crowd Justice. I don't know the exact link. This is it. So if you want donate to me in a way I can't use it to buy steak or surfboards, then you can donate there. If you want to give me just general money that I can use for anything, then go for the Patreon. Are you still in the US? Yes, I am. And no, they're not FBI trained dolphins. They were trained by the CIA. I'll have you know. Do my headphones leave an imprint on my hair? Yes, they do. I have to wash my hair after I take my headphones off, or it looks really silly for the rest of the day. Did you say word macro? I did. Yeah, feel free to donate however you want to. That's fine. I'm not getting blonde highlights, no. Alright, so I'll do like 5 more or a few more minutes of questions. Like, let me know if I've missed your question because I notice I have missed quite a few in the past. So I'm actually not allowed to work in the US. Basically, I don't have a work visa. I was here on vacation when I was arrested, so I legally cannot work in the country. So no, I can't. I can't work. My OS of choice is Windows 10, mostly because I'm a gamer and you can't game on Linux. Python, definitely Python. Ruby is the worst programming language I've ever seen. The Bitcoin donation is standard Bitcoin. No, wine gaming is horrible. It loses you so much FPS. You're basically playing like a slideshow. It's like someone could take screenshots of their game, save them to the disk, and then go through them in Windows Photos faster than you will see them live. Do I recommend any malware RE books? The only one I've actually read is it Practical Malware Analysis. It's on No Starch. It's also on Amazon. This is a really good book. I'll zoom in find the Amazon page. It's probably easier for you to buy it there. So Kindle version is $35. I don't remember who wrote it, but it's really good. It goes very, very in depth into malware analysis topics. It gets quite advanced, so it's not just for beginners. It's kind of the perfect book to kind of keep around. Thanks for the F, Myocat. Have I thought of writing my own book? I did think about writing a reverse engineering book, but I just don't have the patience. Like these streams is fine, like an hour once a week, I can do that. But writing a book, I just get bored. It's so boring. I like to do either blog posts or videos. What is virtual alloc used for? I went over that earlier in the stream. It allocates memory. If you want to donate, the best thing for me is to donate on Patreon because that means I can use that money, like I can use it for my legal fees if I need to, but I can also use it for other important things. Whereas the legal fund, I can only use that for legal fees. So if I have any other needs, that money is useless to me. 100% of it goes to my lawyers. Did I read the Malware Analyst Cookbook? I did not. I actually don't really read books. I'm more of a Google person. Do I have to pay income tax in the US? I think I do actually, which is very difficult because I'm not a citizen, which means I don't have a social security number, which means I can't pay tax. It's very silly. Like being forced to live in a country where you are not legally allowed to live is very, very difficult. It's the whole thing is incredibly silly, but I just have to make do. So I have to find a way to pay tax to a country that will not let me pay tax to them. NASM, FASM, or MASM? I'm an FASM guy. Nothing more happening with the case. We like lost a bunch of motions, so now it's back to square one, and we're probably going to trial with this, which is not great. But hey, it's the U.S. justice system. I didn't really expect anything different. No, I doubt they're going to target people who support me. Like, I think you're free to donate money. No one's reported any problems. You're not going to end up on some watch list or have a finger up the bum from the TSA. I think it should be fine. How long have I been in the US? Since July 21st, 2017. Thank you, Samiloto. Okay. Oh, it's been more than a year. It was a year in well, it was a year since my arrest in August, and a year since I came to the US in July. How do I feel about leaving my friends, family, and servers behind in the UK? How do I cope with it? I don't know. Like, I've always been quite resilient, so it's not had as big of an effect on me as it would on other people. It still absolutely sucks, but I mean, there's nothing I can do about it, so I just kind of have to get on with life. When the case is done, will I still live in the United States or move back to England? I'd actually like to stay in America. I really like LA. It's great weather, great people, but the truth is, I'll probably have to go back to the UK because I'm not a US citizen. I don't have a green card or anything. But yeah, any more tech questions before I head off? I said I'd do an hour stream. It's been an hour and 15 minutes. We've gone a little over, but I think we're still on good time, I think. The thing that happened last week was all of our motions to dismiss the case got denied, which is kind of unsurprising. Like, I figured that would happen. So it basically means we have to go to trial now. Do I get annoyed with you on Twitter? I don't know who you are on Twitter. Like, I can't remember people's names. There's so many notifications. Can you sue for damages if I win the case, potentially? The FBI is not a good travel company. My favorite followers on Twitter. I don't want to go through and name them. Like, a lot of them probably won't want to be named, but pretty much anyone who I follow on Twitter is amazing. Except for like the obvious people who aren't amazing and I just follow them for a joke. You'll probably figure out who those ones are. Can you do one on Emotet? I actually can't stream Emotet because the way the Emotet gang works is basically anything of the malware that gets documented, they change. So if I were to do a stream on it, they would just update the malware and make everything I streamed useless. So with certain malwares, it's best not to publicly reverse engineer them or even say you're working on them because they will actually try and counter you. Like, there are a few gangs, Drydex, Emotet. Those two are the main ones I've seen. They're watching everything anyone does on those. Like Drydex will ban you from the botnet if they catch you reversing it. All right, I'll do one last question and I'm gonna head off. So I'm pretty damn sleepy. I did not sleep well last night, so this is probably gonna be my tiredest stream yet. No one country-wise is responsible for these malwares. They're cybercrime groups. Like, most of the members of the groups are Eastern European, but it's not any kind of country that's responsible for them. Like Drydex, I think Drydex is mostly Ukrainian and Russians, whereas Emotet, I believe, might be Germans. Any recommended read for binary analysis? Yes, this. Russian Business Network doesn't exist anymore. It collapsed after Slavic got arrested, I believe. Well, not arrested, indicted. Yeah, I use WinDebug. It's my backend for IDA. Thank you, Jam Jam. I've not used Anger. There's plenty of malware that doesn't work on Windows 10. I could list that all day. No, most crimeware is not state sponsored. It's just criminals. There have been cases where crimeware has been supported by governments. Like in the case of Game Over Zeus, it was initially criminals running it, but then the government kind of caught the person behind it and made them do favors for the government, so it became essentially an APT. But that's not a common thing to happen. Mostly it's just criminals. But yeah, there was one case where the Russian government, well, one case that I know of, there's probably thousands of them, but there was a case where the Russian government actually recruited some cyber criminals to help them. No, Rallius, I'm not giving you books on writing malware. But anyway, I think that's all for today. It's now 20 minutes past an hour, so we did a pretty long stream today, a little longer than expected. Thanks for joining again. 170 viewers average, which is amazing. I will see you all hopefully. I'm planning on doing maybe another stream in the middle of the week, so you might not have to wait till next Sunday. I might do an advanced one midweek.